I'm inviting people to the watch party. Hang on. Don't mind me.
Oh, okay. You go do that. Thank you for the people that are here.
Thank you.
This is the end of season 1 of the Tribal Mischief Podcast. 12 episodes. 12 episodes.
13 weeks. 13 weeks. We had a little hiccup in the middle.
Things happened. We had to move a guest from season 1 to season 2. It happens.
We did. We had a little COVID.
Little COVID in the middle. But this has been such a fantastic experience being able to, in this age of COVID, have really meaningful, deep conversations with people who are friends, are people that we admire. Luckily, almost everyone qualifies as both of those things, which is really wonderful because you're having conversations and you're trying to learn more about people that you already have a relationship with. And
season 2 is going to be interesting. We're running out of friends.
Huh? What?
I said season 2 is going to be interesting. We're running out of friends.
I'm not worried about it. Okay. We'll find a way. We always do.
Yeah.
But this is, between everything that's occurred during the show, between the lounge stage where we had 170 people watching throughout the night, raised about $2,000. We're able to pay artists and donate $500 or $500 to the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival. An organization we believe it's been a great experience. And thanks to the people that have been here all along, Cultural Infidel, Karaoke, Christine Doman Wells, sorry. It's been really nice, and everyone that's sort of come along and been here when they can is really great. So because this is the end of the first season, we don't have that many announcements because while we know some of our guests for season 2, we haven't really started slotting them. We don't have definitive dates. We know we're going to take either 5 or 6 week break. But during that time period, we're going to do a couple of different events. There are other videos that I'm working on related to everything that we've done. So we're going to have the COVID conversation with a number of different artists. My goal is September 15th for that, to have that up. We're going to have another concert. And Jake, was it decided September 28th? Was it?
No.
20.
Yes, definitely September 24th. Thursday, September 24th.
So Thursday, September 24th, we're going to do a concert in the round. Haven't finalized the artists. We will announce to everyone as soon as we do that. So follow us on Twitch, follow us on Facebook, and you'll see the announcements there. We'll do our best to keep everyone up to date. Should be a lot of fun. If we end up getting, I think I agreed in the last episode that if we end up getting up to 30 subscribers, we're at like 25 on Twitch. The Asoya story that we have hinted at and might even hint at again tonight. I will actually tell the full story of my father and my literal odyssey, to come up with our toast of choice that has been my family and Jake and my toast for about a decade and change. So just a little incentive.
Yep.
Other than that, do you have any announcements?
No. It's been a good week. Things are busy, but quieting down. Health-wise, things are good. Everything good with you?
Yeah, for the most part, it is. I think from what I'm seeing locally, not nationally, because I don't follow national news anymore. I am using, unfortunately, I fully admit, I am using my white privilege to say I've had too much, and focus on sort of local. I've been helping with photography for the local Black Lives Matter groups, and doing stuff like that. Helped one of the local businesses who ran a Stronger Together campaign, and I believe they raised about $2,000 for the NAACP, making signs for everyone in town. So I really enjoyed that local touch-feely of all of this, and it's made me feel far more empowered than I think any convention could. So, that's more or less where I am with that. I'm gonna miss everybody, but I think I'm gonna enjoy the next month. I'm planning on getting up to Maine, forcing myself to slow down a little bit and go on a little island without electricity for a bit.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Sounds like a good plan. So this week we have two fantastic musicians. They joined us on the lounge stage just a few weeks ago, leading up to the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival. They closed out the night with Vance Gilbert, and it was a hoot and a half.
It was as close as I've gotten to a sing-along in 6 months, and
That's right. We got to sing harmonies with them.
It meant the world to me. And, I want to thank them before they even get on profusely, because Sunday is usually the night that they run their concert series. And they were so kind in taking tonight and doing this with us. And I just want to acknowledge that and say it means the world to us. And any of your fans that have come over here know that we adore these women to the moon and back, and apologize for taking them for the evening, but we will get some music in there too. So that being said, let's bring in Chris Matthews and Heather May.
Hi.
Hello. Got to change those
I'm
names.
Jake.
Oh, boy. Well,
I'm Jake.
There we
you
go.
look like a Jake. You
I
could
do
be a
look
Jake.
like a Jake.
Yeah. Jacques.
I feel like I would be more like a Jacques than a Jake.
Definitely.
Hello, my name is Jacques.
Fancy it up a little bit.
Fancy it up. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you two?
We're real good.
Wow.
We're doing all right. We're hanging in there. How are you guys?
We're excellent. We're
Good.
excellent, and even better now. And what I love about having you guys, just like on the lounge stage, is I feel like I've done a pretty good job of making things behind me look sort of nice and homey and inviting. But you guys literally have
So fabulous.
There's
wedding processional.
flowers.
You've got to look. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am dancing because it was all me.
It absolutely was. I was just like, can it just be a black curtain?
No.
No.
No, it cannot. We did a Pride tour. I think we're going to talk about that. But we did a Pride tour, and I was like, it was a Pride tour that was in person, and then it got canceled because of a tiny little pandemic. I don't know if you guys heard anything about it. And so I was like, oh, you say it's canceled, do you? And then I turned my dining room into a music venue.
I built a float for it, and so I took all the
Exactly.
things home from the float and put them in my dining room.
Yeah, all these flowers were actually supposed to be duct taped to our van. So, you know.
Wow.
I definitely would have gone to that show.
Chris
Come
definitely
see us.
would not have gotten that
No,
van.
I would have been like, everybody, I am going to have to bow out just because I'm not going to have any Butch Street cred left by the time this tour hits its first location. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you the next time.
Oh my gosh, that is so real.
Yeah.
That is so
Oh
real.
man.
Just what I particularly love about that, and we'll talk a little bit tonight, I think, about gender politics in general, because
Yes.
Jake and I need some schooling. But
Nice.
what I love about that is you can say that and you could do that. And if I was ever on a tour with Heather and I came outside and saw my car duct taped with all those things, I would probably sit there and say, "This is fine. This is fine."
No.
Do you know how many cars I have not been able to be free
This is the
and
social
allow
justice songwriter.
myself
Yeah.
to let myself express the way that I want? Like, I mean, it would have been,
Exactly.
anything would have just been like,
Just- And my response would have still been, I can't and I won't.
What's so interesting about that is actually that you would say that, do you know how many, like not cars, but let's just go with it. Do you know how many cars I have been told this is what I have to drive? And no, my dear, I will not.
No clue.
But this is why the expenses on your tour go up, because y'all each need your own car.
That's right.
Yeah.
A butch car and a femme car.
Totally. Exactly.
We would say whenever, and we actually still do this whenever we do live streams, you know, we want to make like the tip bucket things. Our fans love, you know, helping us right now, and they donate things, and so we, in order to make kind of
This has been so
make
fun.
it a little fun, what we do is we do a competition. We'll be like, throw something in the femme bucket for
Yeah.
like $6. That's my favorite number.
Yeah.
Or throw something in the butch bucket, which is $7. And so we will do like a tie, and whoever gets the most, we like do a reveal, and we say like they get to pick dinner out, and we describe
the buckets.
And mine is
Mine
this.
always wins. Mine
is
wins.
this.
Yeah.
You know, mine is like covered in
so
like
funny.
pink
You're
and flowers.
in your bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Jake.
Chris,
Exactly.
Can you describe your bucket?
My bucket is the beautiful piece of natural, organic koa wood, carefully crafted by a lesbian in a flannel shirt named Wakanda. lovingly covered with moss in all the right places, blessed by the goddesses of the earth and brought to you. Yeah, my bucket wins every time because they know it's so real. Like all those lesbians have a friend that they're like, oh my god, my friend totally could make that bucket. She probably's got that bucket in her backyard.
We have actually sipped organic kombucha out of that bucket.
Out of Wakanda's bucket. Exactly, in her backyard during the full moon ritual. Yeah.
While eating like granola that we made that day.
I love so much.
Man, all right. Well, we can just keep talking about lesbians. Wow.
One of
so
my
much to
favorite
cover.
podcasts. I don't know if you all have heard the Scrubs podcast, but it is absolutely deadly. Donald Faison and
oh my god, I love him so much.
And Zach Braff. And one of the commercials that they do is for kombucha, and it's the two of them just talking about this delicious kombucha. I think you all need to be hired. They need to fire Zach Braff and Donald Faison, and they need to hire the two of you for organic kombucha, because that would just be, you would sell buckets and buckets of organic kombucha.
You need to target it towards lesbians.
Totally.
That's the niche client.
Totally.
Well, and this is sort of, there are so many different questions related to so much of this. But on a general level, one of the things that I've always found sort of heartwarming and also interesting as a straight person is that the folk community is sort of its own small little tight-knit group. The LGBTQ portion within the folk community is far tighter and far, at least in what I have seen from friends, there is a level of understanding as to the support necessary to make everything work on that side, that I think in the general scene, there's a lot of, we can get it done with paper mache and glitter. And there's still plenty of glitter, as Justin Nordell told us during his interview on the LGBTQ side. But there's an understanding that to do it right, you've got to build it right. And I've been always just really sort of fascinated with how well that community sort of subset, intersectionality version of the community has sort of risen to the occasion. I don't know if that... If you can speak towards that.
The LGBTQ community and the folk community, we, in so many spaces, we feel othered. And I don't want to speak for everybody in the community because, of course, everybody has their own individual experience. But when I go to folk spaces, I always find my people, and we always lean into one another. And it literally doesn't matter what level or step you are in your career. If you are LGBTQ and you are a songwriter, I have found myself being like, I'm like I don't know, positively biased towards them, that I want to support them. It doesn't matter where they are, in their career. I just, they're instant family. And whether it's at Rocky Mountain Folk Festival, which I love so much, or Song School, NERFA, we just all kind of find a way to find one another. Yeah.
One of the things for me, I was like, that I remember being kind of like positively excited about actually seeing was the first year I played NERFA, and Jess Razzie had the kind of like the LGBTQ showcase. It was just like, you can only play this showcase if you are in the family. And I was like, wow, all right. NERFA?
All right. Yes.
Sounds good. So, yeah, because, you don't, folk is such an interesting community in general, because on the one hand, so many people associated with being very much older and very, 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 very white and very, very male. And then, you know, you go to the spaces where we gather and everybody is trying so hard right now. And you know, even as recent as a few years ago, to be so intentional with the spaces. And it was nice. It was very nice. I am kind of antisocial. I am much more social when I have to be than just if it's my choice. So I can't speak as much to the gatherings of the Le Chibetiquois as Heather can, but it was very, very affirming to see the showcase space for sure. I felt very seen and very excited about that. It was pretty awesome.
Chris Matthews is 100% when she goes to like NERFA, she'll like go and she'll go to her showcases, she'll go to her workshops, and then she goes to her room. And if someone says, "Hey, you come in here," she'll go, "Why?" And they'll be like, "We want to hear you sing." And she's like, "All right."
Yeah.
So if you can
so
get
shy.
her, but however, if you are so shy, which
I'm
is
very
so funny,
shy.
if you can see it, and that's what's really funny about it, is that now she's like, you know, co-partnered tour mate with the loudest human.
Just so loud, so extra all the time.
And so this last November, we went to NERFA together, and we were everywhere all the time together. And at the end of NERFA, she was like, "Woman, I am the most tired I have ever been in my entire life." And I was like, "I am the most energized I've ever been all year."
Yeah.
There is, I think things like NERFA and festival sort of community, there is the experience of the extrovert versus the introvert is so, and both can have wonderful times, but it's the coming home that really always separates the two.
Oh yeah.
Where you could see the introverts like, oh, and the extroverts like, this is great.
Oh yeah.
Heather, I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna write some songs.
Heather, I consider myself an extrovert, but I'll get, I don't know, a couple of days into that, and I will just retreat to the hotel room and be like, "I need everybody to shut up for a minute. Just
I think her answer is she never feels like that.
never feel like that."
Well, the thing is I, you know, growing up, I was always with everybody. I need the energy of everyone around me, but I didn't know that there was such a thing. So I thought the world was binary. I thought there was extrovert and introvert. And for anyone watching this, it's not binary. There's a lot of in between. So you can be extrovert introvert, you can be introvert extrovert, you can be introvert extrovert, and it depends upon the setting that you're in and like what comes out. So for me, I always was like extrovert, and I thrive off of people and energy. Well, then later on in life, I realized I have bipolar disorder too. If I don't take care of that introvert side of me, I will, and I stay in that extrovert, that eventually leads me to mania. And that mania can be great for songwriting, and it can be terrible for Heather.
Yeah.
For health.
Yeah, I have to be really careful with it. NERFA or festivals, I always have to be, I have to like mentally prepare myself for the quiet that comes. And I have to like have like events planned. My therapist and I figured that problem out. Like I played this massive festival for all these women. There was like 800 women in the room, and it was so quiet. And I played it. It was the biggest. It was so amazing. It was all in a venue. And then I went home and I had nothing for a month, and I went into the deepest depression. And so my therapist was like, "Well, to avoid that, what should you do?" So I now, every time I come, pandemic, pre-COVID, every time I have a festival or like a really big, that's like incredibly stimulating gathering, I have like a dinner planned with a friend, I have gatherings with my family planned, I have things to get me to come down from it. That's
the
really
weaning
helpful.
off of the experience.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't want to see anybody for 3 months at all. Don't even call. And I hate talking on the phone anyway. Everybody knows. Text. If you need to get up with me, definitely text.
She hates talking on the phone so much. Are y'all ready for this? She hates talking on the phone so much that her voicemail says, I'll put you on blast. Her voicemail says, "Hey, it's Chris Matthews. You probably should not even leave a voicemail. Go ahead and just text me. I'm serious. I'm not going to listen to it."
But it's very
If-
polite. It says
I-
that, but it's very
I-
nuanced. It's very nuanced and polite.
There's something
I
to be
did-
said for honesty.
If I didn't
Something-
answer, it's because I didn't want to talk, and so don't leave a message.
Basically, it's like, if we don't share a bloodline, you shouldn't even have this number. Yeah.
I can't
Hang
imagine
on,
the voicemails.
and deleted. Okay, got it.
I'm trying to think back because Chris, you and I spent all of last year working together on the NERFA programming committee.
Yeah.
Like once a week,
Oh yeah.
we were on the phone spending an hour to 2 hours trying to figure out how to help the community.
Yep.
And if I recall, there were a handful of just one-on-one phone conversations that we had, and I don't think I'm imagining it. I believe they were me usually asking you 40 to 45 second long questions and you answering generally in under 3 words.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yep. That's very on brand. Yes.
As someone who has toured with you for 15 years, Ethan, that is definitely on brand.
Yeah. and this says as much about me as I think it does about you.
Yep. Yeah. You know, I like to save my words for the song because I don't want to.
Oh my god. Ooh. Sorry, y'all. It's just the dragger. Just dragger.
It's cool. I'm secure. It's fine. It's fine.
I love working with you. I miss it.
So it was
that was
fun.
That was
It's
not
fun.
a complaint.
It's just like, it's one of those things. Like, I know it's like scrolling away. It's like with Heather with her energy. I'm the same way. I know I'm not going to want to just be hanging out on the phone. So if I know I have to, I'm going to just take time that whole couple days before to make sure that I have the bandwidth to give it my all when I have to give it. So,
And I
that's
will
it.
say you are and we're dragging you right now
Yeah.
at the same time making fun of how much Ethan and I talk, although we haven't really gotten to Jake quite yet. But I will say, don't worry, Jake, your time is coming.
That's
but
all right.
I will say
I'm
you
cool.
are you are one of the
Yeah.
best. She's one of the best listeners of anyone. Like any person I've ever like had to tour with, interact with, like one of the best listeners and one of the best advice givers. If
That's
you
true.
ever need advice, gentlemen.
I'm a preacher's kid. Of course I give good advice.
Oh,
if you ever need advice, listen, and again, if you're going to get advice from a black woman right now, pay up. But if you're going to get advice from Chris Matthews, it is like, she's like, okay, I feel like I'm in like the right market here. Do you two like Lord of the Rings?
Oh, yeah. I'm wearing a Game
Ethan's
of Thrones
yes.
bow tie right now.
Jake?
I think Ethan's a bigger nerd in that realm than I am. I definitely enjoy them, but
Okay, do
I'm-
you remember the character, the Ints?
Of course.
Okay,
Leave that.
so
It was my
there's
nickname.
Yes. Okay. Oh my god, I love that so much. My heart just went goosh. So the Ints, they speak and they can move, but they don't. They only say what they must.
Words to live by.
When she gives you, I will come guns a-blazing
Oh, geez.
into a room and I'll be like, can you believe this? I can't believe they said this, and oh my gosh, and this venue did this, and then this woman came in here and did this social justice, and I'll come in and she will be like Martin Luther King. She will
Oh,
be
my
like,
goodness.
when they go low, we go high.
Wow.
Michelle Obama,
Wow.
quoting Michelle
Knock
Obama.
at
And
midnight.
she-
Hilarious.
Yes, she'll just one sentence, and I'll be like, that was everything I needed. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It was your Instagram post the other day. I had like some one-liner in there, and somebody was like, "That is so perfect."
It was a comment.
I'm just gonna copy
It was
that.
a comment. She's like, can you turn that into a song? So, moral of the story, introverts, they might
Sometimes
not
less is
like.
more.
They,
Sometimes
yeah,
less is
less
more.
is more. Jake?
when Ethan and I used to,
Yeah.
well, I was just going to say when Ethan and I would help out with the, NERFA newbie panel, it's your first time at this conference, we would tell people, you got to figure out your elevator pitch and your 5 seconds, your 10 seconds of how to get somebody interested, which is funny because that would have to be a long goddamn elevator ride for Ethan or I to get across what we wanted to say.
Right.
Long
so
time.
noted.
We would need a 77 floor
Yeah.
hotel to get that pitch across.
Yeah.
I get so nervous about elevators at NERFA. I got trapped in the Folk Alliance elevator the year it was in Memphis. I'll never forget it. I was terrified.
Never again.
So
We used to hear stories of people like throwing CDs at people in the elevator, like as the doors are closing, because the person's like, "No, I'm good. I don't want a CD," and artists like throwing CDs through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you gotta do. Get on that hustle.
Wow. Is that what we call it, though? I don't think so.
I feel like if you've resorted to using your album like a throwing star, you've probably chosen the wrong method of selling yourself.
Exactly.
How did the two of you get hooked up as manager and artist? Well, she impaled me with her CD.
Yeah. It was a workers' comp claim, and that was the only restitution I could get. Yeah.
She made me drive her to the hospital with a 1-inch deep incision from the corner of a very sharp CD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But while we're in the waiting room, she had to listen.
Yeah.
She had to
She had
listen,
no
and she
choice.
was like, "This is actually a really good album. I
It
need
could
you.
be the morphine, but
Yep.
it feels good. It's
I'm
nice.
going to charge you 50% of everything you make for the first 5 years
Exactly.
to cover the medical
Cover those
costs."
medical bills.
I am going to represent you so you can pay for the medical bills that you just incurred.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whew, so good.
So-
Man.
You guys just finished the Sing Out tour. That was sort of your you had intended to do in person,
yeah.
but this entire
Thing
Thing
We
happened.
like to call
My
her
best friend likes to call it the crow crow.
the Crow Crow.
And that makes it feel less scary. So we call it that pretty
Crow
regularly. The crow
Mhm.
crow. Yeah.
Jake, you
heard
had the crow crow.
I had the crow crow.
Jake, you had the
Did you have the crow crow?
I did.
You did have the
3 weeks ago today, I was diagnosed, and I got very, very lucky. I haven't even talked about it much because I feel bad.
literal ever.
Well played.
Because I got very lucky, very mild symptoms, but
Wow.
you start thinking about everything and making sure your will's filled out, and my kids were here and my wife was in the house, and did I don't know where I got it, did I bring it home to my wife and kids, and we shipped the dogs and my wife and my kids off 3 days later when my wife and kids tested negative, and and I basically literally lived in my home office for another 7 days.
Oh.
So yeah.
Well,
So,
we're
yeah, I
glad
got
you're
the-
here.
Crow, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should
Wow.
make an I Survived the Crow Crow t-shirt.
Way to go, like quarantine year. I'll also say, and again, social justice songwriter through and through, y'all. I will say, way to go to be an example for people to self quarantine and stay away, and you took care of society by staying here and. In this box. You stayed in this box, Jake.
Courtney, this box that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife Courtney and I went for a walk today, down in the Arboretum down near Jamaica Plain, and it took every bit of willpower I had not to scream at every unmasked idiot that I walked by, just being like, "You son of a bitch!" Just fucking put it on.
Yeah.
Just do it, and
We're glad you're here.
Yeah,
Ugh.
No.
it's just maddening.
Yeah.
But so I had the crow or the Rona, one of the two.
The Rona's, I've heard the Rona too.
Or when you're feeling a little sassy, the Ro-Ro.
Oh.
Ro.
Boy.
The Ro-Ro.
I feel like the Rona sounds
you
more like
seen
an
the white
STD,
gray
really.
man?
Rona.
Right? It's like,
What's that?
Oh, she got the Rona.
Rona.
Yeah.
Rona sounds like a sassy divorcee
Alright.
from Long Island. Rona. She's had a few. She's bought a mansion. She got the money. She's paying out. That's what Rona sounds like to me.
All right.
Fair enough.
Folks at home, apologies.
When you all go on tour, I will pay you to just put one of your phones down. Call me, put your phone down. I just want to listen to the two of you because it's just Heather going off and
All the
Chris
time.
in the other seat just
right.
going.
It's actually really
Wow.
quiet. What's really interesting.
Exactly, Jake.
Wow.
Nailed it. That's exactly it. Yeah, and when it gets really bad, there are three. It's like, wow. Just,
Wow.
Ooh.
yeah.
Well,
That's what Heather
we'll
needs
do
to
wow, 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 wow,
Oh, yeah.
wow, wow, wow. We do
Yeah,
that.
to the tune of Rihanna's Work. Yeah. Yeah, that's when you know she's just gone all the way in. Yeah, it's so intense.
What's really interesting about that is that our when we drive, this people say this all the time. Like,
And
what
when
is
she
it like in the
means
car?
we drive, she means when I am
She
driving
drives.
and she is casually sitting in the passenger seat the entire tour.
It's actually really quiet. It's actually really quiet in the car. We
Because
listen
you're
to
working.
because I'm working
nonstop. It's the
Nonstop.
only piece I get.
Wow.
That's it. That's why I volunteer to drive. That's really it. I don't
Ethan,
want to
can you do me a
drive. I'm
favor?
just
I
like,
want you to-
if I'm driving, she's quietly working.
Ethan, can you just subtly like change up the titles? Ethan's in charge of all of our graphics. That's why I'm asking him. I wanted to just be Heather and wow. Just
Exactly. Just
wow.
I have many expressions of the wow. There are so many. Just wow.
So you two have formed like this really. It's funny when you guys started doing shows together, or at least in a way that I saw you guys starting to do shows together. I was like,
Yeah.
huh, that's an interesting pairing. I feel like that would be like really, that would be a fun night. And then I realized that this wasn't just like one or two shows where it happened to work out that way. And you guys have really, and I say this as someone who spent his entire musical career with a musical partner.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there is, how did that develop for you? And
Slow. It was a slow burn. So we've known each other for almost 8 years now.
Yep.
So when I moved to Northern Virginia, Heather was one of the
And
first.
I had just moved back too.
Yeah. She was one of the first songwriters I met up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, she's cool. She seems cool. And so I just like, kept up with her music loosely. And then we kept ending up playing shows together.
Yeah.
And, we just eventually one night sang together somewhere. And I was like, oh, man, I like harmonizing with her. I like her harmonizing with me. It's cool. We should do that more.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago, we did our first singing out tour.
Yeah. It was 4 years. 4 years? Oh God.
3. It was 3 or 4.
3 or 4 years
In case
ago.
the people are like writing the biography at home. It was 3 or 4. We don't know. And we did our first singing out tour, a little small
3 years.
version of it.
3 years ago, we did our first singing out tour,
Yeah.
and it was small.
Yeah.
And we did like 5 shows up the
Yeah.
East Coast. And it was great. And both of our agents were like, hey, we should do this again. This has potential. We were like, it does?
A
'Cause
pride
at the time-
tour
a
with a
pride
folk
tour?
musician and
Really?
an indie pop artist.
What? And because both of us were like, some of the shows were small.
Yeah.
Some were mid-sized, but they weren't like huge. But both of our agents were like, this tour
They really
could be
believed
awesome.
in it. They believed in the concept of it so much.
Yeah, so the next year, which was last year, 2019, it was amazing. It was awesome.
Incredible.
It was huge.
It was like,
and
what, 30 some shows or something like that?
it was 28 shows in 33 days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, all
amazing.
over, like full band, coast to coast,
Yep.
just everywhere.
and selling out venues,
Yeah.
and it was all over. We would go to a random town that neither one of us had really ever been there, and there were people there, and
Yeah.
it was because the blending of social justice and the advocacy and visibility about the representation of LGBTQ people on stage, singing about the people that they love, singing about Black Lives Matter, singing about immigration, was hearkening back to a time when that was everywhere, and now it's young faces and young people in the crowds and a blend
it's
of
an interesting thing because
really
like
is.
genre-wise we both do very different things, but content-wise we do the same thing.
Yeah.
yes.
And so because of that, my fan base is older than Heather's fan base. And so the shows are beautiful because we have this melting of our
Humans.
fans. We have young and old and everybody in between. Some of those kids are just like, I don't even like folk music, but if this is what it is, this is great.
Yeah, but I
And,
love
yeah.
social justice
Exactly.
and I
Which-
want to support women.
Exactly. So, and it's
Which-
great. It's worked. So we keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's the conversation Jake and I have been having in almost all of these episodes with friends. Is this entire, there's such a stigma attached to the term folk music, yet you can play the best of folk music to anyone, and virtually everyone will associate with it.
Yeah.
And Chris, I absolutely agree with you. What one of the things I'd say is, one of my pet peeves that happens in our community a lot is, and it's a human thing, but the entire, oh, it was better back when mentality. And there is, particularly in our community, that associates so closely with the civil rights movement, with the sort of 60s flower revolution. There is this assumption that there's no good protest music now. There's no good anthemic music. And anytime someone throws that at me, you two are the first names I throw out. Because, you know, Chris, in so many ways, you really nail, and I know I don't know that it's how you describe sort of the heart of the way that you play, but you to me are a grassroots troubadour in so many ways, in the way that you perform, and that it touches me, and it's one of the reasons why I get annoyed when I hear people say things like that. And stand up, Heather, in my mind, like that is the anthem, not a anthem, but that is probably my favorite sort of call to action song that I've heard in the last decade.
Yeah.
So I love what you guys are doing, and that it's so mindful and targeted, not in a marketing way, but in a, this is what we care about. And if you care too, please join us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much it, Ethan. I don't really have anything else to
was
say
just like,
about that except, yep.
Jake, I'm going to
Except
change the wow to a yeah.
Yeah. I will say this. When
wow.
we get that, you know, whole like where's the music? And we get this in two ways. We get that in like, where's the women's music? Which is that I think they're thinking back to the time when women stood on stages with their guitars and were feminist, and that was it, right? And then they're thinking about, in terms of social justice music, they're thinking about that there is that like archetype, I guess, of the flower in their hair, but then there's also like the, you know, the Woody Guthrie of like, this machine kills fascists, like that. And as if like that doesn't exist anymore, it's and this is our life. I mean, this is what we do. So when we hear that, we're just like, look harder.
Yeah. Like there's so many. I was like, I can literally name 10 right now without even trying hard. Come on, people. We have the internet everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a white privileged white woman who has a, you know, instrument in front of her, I'll also say I am exhausted and nothing compared to what actual black songwriters are feeling. But I cannot tell you how many emails I get for people who are like, they're just not out there about black performers, and that is so it just doesn't make any sense because we have Google. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Beyond Google, we have Spotify, and we have, and I'm completely crediting Jake Blunt with this for teaching me, we have Tidal, which is like Spotify, but it pays artists 3 times more, and it's black owned, so even better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, Jake and I, you know, we're still musicians, but we don't tour. Well, now no one tours, but we don't really get out as much as we used to. I've got like bad 50 songs playing in my head when I say that. But we got into promoting other people and doing our best to look at the next generation, and not even the next generation, but our generation and the people that were really doing something special. And to us, or at least to me, I don't always mean to speak for Jake, though I do it quite a bit. It became more important for us to do whatever we could to amplify their voices.
There are a lot of people that deserve to be heard that hadn't been heard, and on a whole spectrum. You know, ages, all colors, you know, all orientations, whatever it is. There were lots of people out there that, okay, you don't think there's a lot of black musicians out there? You just haven't heard them. You just haven't looked, you haven't Googled, you haven't titled, you haven't whatever. And so we wanted to find those artists that we could use our platform, use our privilege or whatever it is to bring those people out and give you a stage, the lounge stage. The whole point of doing that was putting people on a bigger stage than they might have played before, and putting them in front of an audience that wanted to hear it. And that's what that's why we're 12 episodes into a podcast.
And the funny part of that experience is we realized it was probably, what do you say, Jake, 5 or 6 years in when we started, as we were booking, keeping a physical tally of number of men and women and actual levels of diverse thought in it. Up to that point, we hadn't thought of it. We were just, hey, we know this person. The stage is so run off the notion of people doing us favors because we don't pay, because we don't get paid, that it hadn't even occurred to us to go to that next level. And it wasn't until it was really an established thing where I could tell you, listen, I can get you in front of 500 to 700 people who will adore you, and do it that way. And going through that change in the way that we approached our booking opened so many doors to us in finding new and wonderful, like music that we just hadn't heard because we weren't looking hard enough. Yeah. Because I don't think, of course there's an unconscious racism to it and sexism to it, but when you're just going with what you like and not thinking about why you like what you like, you can find yourself in a very mediocre world of the same sounding stuff. And I'm really glad that there are more people like both of you in our community who are being seen as leaders in the community in various ways, so that there's opportunity for more sounds and more sort of discussions like that. Yeah. And it was one of the things I love working with you last year in the committee. You really took ownership over it. Was the women in folk music, the history of women in folk music. Yeah, I love that so much. Yeah, and you knocked it out of the park. You had you got the right people to have the right discussions, because they're so. One of the things that always concerns me about the folk scene in general is because of that association with the civil rights movement, there are a lot of old white people who want to run panels on how they made racism stop. Yes. And I say that, and I know people are like, oh, Ethan's joking, because I exaggerate a lot, and I joke a lot. But I promise you, every year on that committee, we got someone writing in saying, we would like to discuss how wonderful the civil rights movement is and how we made such a difference. And I'm not taking anything away from all the good works that happen there, but particularly in a community, as you point out, when you walk around NERFA, which is 700 to 800 people, and to steal Vance's line, not a lot of chips in that cookie. That's just the wrong message to have. The conversation should never be had from that.
Also, white people shouldn't be talking about how they eradicated racism. They should be talking about how they benefit from racism. Yes. That's what the conversation should be had. That is the conversation.
Ethan, can that be our next T-shirt? We basically pick a T-shirt. I don't know. They haven't all been made. Very few of them have been. But I think that one should probably be one of them. Is that what?
You can't hold my drink.
White people shouldn't be talking about how they ended racism. They should be talking about how they benefited from it. Yes. I wanted to ask the both of you. You sing and you speak on I want to do it with the same.
Let's just say
LGBTQ. I speak French and I can't say that. About LGBTQ issues, about Black issues, being a person of color. Ethan just talked about how we are intentional, and even more so in our booking of just the lounge stage, of making sure that we're making space, that we have women, that we have people of color, that we have people representing the LGBTQ community, and that can there's a very fine line there, I think, between, being intentional about it and being, and and it becoming tokenism. How do the both of you feel about two old white guys that are making sure that, because this is something we have never talked about outside, and I'm very curious about both of your opinions on it. How do you feel about two old white guys holding space for you and trying to make sure that you have a stage and you have that space? And obviously I'm putting it in the best way I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important. First and foremost, I'll say I think it's very important for people to be aware of, the difference of just generally holding space for someone versus tokenism. So in tokenism, it's like when I'm the only Black person in the picture, I have no reason to be in the picture, and someone has found me to bring me into the picture just to have me stand there to be in the picture. Folks, that is tokenism.
That's a token.
But when a music festival that is a festival that likes to have good music and have a diverse array of music feels like I'm one of the diverse arrays of music that should be in there, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I write pretty good songs. So yeah, I'll come play for you. That's a different thing. And so to me, the way that we kind of push back against those different aspects of the community that say things like, well, I just don't know any artists. I don't know any of them. I don't know any Black artists. I don't know any LGBTQ artists, et cetera, is exposure. And so it isn't tokenism when you're bringing in artists who are incredible, who are just as incredible as all the other artists that are there, but just haven't had a chance to be there before. That isn't tokenism. That's making good choices. And so for me, I think it's a very good thing to be doing, to be intentional about presenting a wide array of the best music you can present. That is a good thing. That is never a bad thing. It's different than if you have the one Black artist that comes year after year after year after year. And that one Black artist is supposed to be representative of the entire swath of Black artists who are available to you. And you call that
diverse.
Yeah, that is tokenism. But when you are deliberately seeking out a wide range of the best you can bring, I think that is always going to be a good thing, and people should be doing that way more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Chris, I love that point. I love everything about it, and I wonder from your perspective, because growing up, let me be frank. I don't know if my perception is now being driven by the fact that my blinders are perhaps a little less blind than they used to be, or things have gotten within our community a little bit better. Growing up, I felt like the only Black people I saw in the community were the civil rights singers, were the blues people, or the jazz people, or gospel-y. And you kind of fell in there, or that was it. And it was a very, we've used the term tokenism. I've used, and it might not be the best word to use, but I don't mean it in the profane way. I mean it in the literal way, a fetishization, where you're literally using a Black body to represent this Black idea, as opposed to pulling in an individual. And I felt the same about the LGBTQ community. I lived in Northampton for 4 years.
NoHo Pride is one of my favorite prides.
We love NoHo.
Yeah. Oh, I love that entire community. I love living out there. It was a really wonderful place.
Yeah.
And I remember, I remember so many of the promotions of the way that people ran things at the time were the best lesbian singer-songwriter, the best, this, that, the other thing, where that now I feel like you're the best songwriter, or there's less of needing to take your otherness and turn it into an adjective to qualify your right in being there. And I'm hoping that that's the case, and I'm hoping it's not just my perception.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I find that to be, I have not had the experience of somebody bringing me in to be like, okay, this is the best Black folk singer in America right now. I have not had that, except for when it's MLK time, and then they do bring me in. But I'm always very grateful for that, because I want to be the person having that conversation that time. So I'm okay with that. But in general, I don't find that to be the case. But I'm sure there are probably artists out there who have somewhat encountered that, but that has not been my experience so far. So
I want to say that, there's this thing that RBG once said, And they said, how many women would be enough on these in the Supreme Court? And she said, all of them. And they said, well, don't you think that's a little too much? And she says, why? There have been all men. But when it comes to festivals, there's this feeling of, well, we have to make space for, right? And what I want to get to is, and this might be dystopian, but what I want to get to is
Dystopian or utopian?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's like
all good.
This would be the perfect world. This would be utopia.
Just want to
This
clarify.
would be utopia. No, this would be utopia.
Yeah.
Is that there isn't, let's make space for, it's who do we want? And it is the exact opposite of an assimilationist, right? It's like, well, black people, they just, they're all right, but, these white folks, they've been here every year, and they're so good, and, well, Chris is good, but, no, Chris is fucking great, and she's just as good as any artist that has been playing that festival or that venue for 40 years.
Yep.
Let's just pull from everywhere instead of it being like, well, we gotta have some black artists and we've gotta have some trans artists. It's like, pull from the group, and if you're only pulling white people, that's on you, and you need to recognize that.
And I think that speaks to even the broader conversation and part of what we were having earlier about how do you bring in more people, how do you bring in other people. One of our guests earlier in the season, it said, you walk into a room and, if you're black and you walk into a conference and there's no other black people there, it's hard to find space for yourself there. If you are a young artist and all you're seeing is artists that are 30 or 40 years older than you, it's harder to find that at a festival. And, so what is the way that we bring, more young people to festivals, or we bring more black people to festivals, or LGBTQ people, qua people? I'm trying.
It's
Slowly but surely. You got this, Jake.
LGBT.
What? Why don't we book them, for God's sake?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We saw this at Falcon Ridge. Ann Saunders, who we love and is a dear friend of ours, she booked a young artist, and she went on a limb and she booked a guy. He's not a folk artist, but he was, I think he was on American Idol or something like that. And he brought in probably 100 to 200 of these like high school aged kids. Now, most of them didn't stick around, but I guarantee 100% of them had never been to a folk festival before and would have never have gone.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how we keep going back to this phrase of broadening the tent. Like, how do we include more people and bring more people in and help more people feel at home?
Well, people want to come into a tent if they know they're going to be safe there.
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing, Jake. People will want to be in that tent if they feel like they'll be safe in that tent. And if every time they try to peek into that tent, they don't see anybody else that looks like them, they're going to be like, I'm going to tell you right now, black people are risk averse. As you know, last time we trusted somebody, we got snatched up from a continent and brought over here and turned into slaves. So we're very risk averse as a people. So you want to throw us into a situation and say it's safe for you to come here to this festival where we literally see no black person at all. No. We're going to be like, you're crazy. I'm not going. No, definitely not going to go at all.
Podcast can get Grand Canyon deep. You're just driving along and all of a sudden, I love it.
This is why I only speak a little bit. I got to make sure I make the words count, man.
If anyone's gonna Thelma and Louise us, I feel you two are best suited.
Totally. We're gonna be the ones.
Van decorated with flowers the whole way down.
So I'm pulling up David Schulman, who has been a regular watcher on our thing. Threw up. As I said, most of the folks growing up had filled a very specific niche. Pulled up Richie Havens. David, I think Richie's amazing, and he is literally the exception that proves the rule. Like, he was the individual, and part of that was due to the connection to Woodstock and whatnot. But you're right, and he's a great example. But again, you can say, what about Richie Havens? But I dare you to do that 5 more times.
Right. Exactly.
And by the way, David, that's not me throwing stones for clarity.
But like I play Folks Fest in Colorado. It's in Lyons, and I love it so much. And there's a week before that festival is a 5-day songwriting retreat called Song School. And they've always had LGBTQ professors, or like professors, teachers, instructors, I guess you will. And that has been something, that demographic that they've always incorporated. However, their students there weren't a lot of us LGBTQ people. And something has started, I noticed that over the last 5 years, it was like a couple of us would come in, and then one would come in, and then another, and then we'd bring a friend or two. And now at Song School, we have a beautiful family that is just growing of students and instructors together that are LGBTQ, and it is a songwriting gathering that is predominantly cisgendered and straight people, white people. And now we have this group of people who are family. I mean, this is my family of people who I meet with every single summer. And even this year, because it was canceled, we still gathered on Zoom every morning for an entire week to write together.
Yeah. So moral of the story, when the tent is broadened and people know it's safe for them to be in that tent, they will come running to that tent.
We will show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the phrases that Jake and I, the first phrase that we used was getting the doors opened wider.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've sort of evolved that into making sure there are more seats at the table.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not just about allowing people in, which is sort of I think a very white-centric way of looking at it. Well, we allowed you to come.
Exactly.
Rather than we welcomed you, we gave you space, and we are sharing. And I think that's an evolution that I'd love to see, not just our community, but our community as a whole sort of get to.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thank you so much. I really love that part of the conversation. We're going to have you play some music, but before we get into that, I wanted to talk about just a couple other things.
Yeah.
Just because I want to shout out some of the wonderful things that you guys have done. One is, Chris, you put out 2 records at the end of last year on the same day because you are a crazy person.
I am a crazy person, absolutely. Yeah, the Battle Hymn for an Army of Lovers is my social justice EP. And then a full-length project of just kind of love and life songs called The Imagineers. And I do not necessarily recommend releasing 2 projects simultaneously, but, I'm an Aries. I don't like to be told no by anybody. So, I just did my own thing.
But then last year you released an album.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year I released, it was actually my prize for winning the New Song Music and Performance Competition, was getting to release a new project on somebody else's dime, which for an independent artist is so great. Mm-hmm. And so I got to release a project called These Old Hands last year, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I made a pretty good dent in the old folk chart with that CD.
That's pretty good.
Pretty stoked about that, yeah.
Well, we had, not last year, but the year before, so in 2017, sort of the beginning of this Tribal Mischief idea, one of the challenges I gave myself was I was going to create a public Spotify playlist every month of at least 10 songs, between 10 and 15 songs. And the goal going into it was I wasn't allowing myself to listen to any music that I had ever heard before to do that.
Nice.
And both of you, that was more or less, Chris, right when I met you was during that year.
Yeah.
So Michigan is, I believe, a September song, if I remember correctly. And Stand Up from Heather is in there as, and I think that was sort of the summer. Now you corrected me. I think that was the summer you were emerging artist, which I falsely assumed was when we met. And I told you that, I think, at NERFA that year. And I was like, it was so nice meeting you. And you were like, That is not when we met.
No, we super met earlier.
She'll call you out every time, man. Every time.
Yeah. So stand up was on my last album my first album I ever released. I Am Enough, and that came out in 2016. And then I was the emerging artist in 2017 at Falcon Ridge. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's starting to hit. Oh, battery exhausted.
Oh no.
Oh no.
You gotta always remember to charge up your cable.
Remember to charge
This
it
is
up.
a perfect time for a PSA, folks at home. Now that we're in the Corona times.
For what it's worth, you can still hear me.
Even if the camera dies, he doesn't.
Yeah. Don't let
Even
this happen
if
to
his
you.
camera dies, he still keeps
Still
talking.
there,
But yeah, so I was an emerging artist at Falcon Ridge. That was the year that I broke the keyboard.
I was gonna say it, but I was like, it's cool. I'm gonna give her a chance.
That was when
to
I got
out
the
herself.
nickname Keyboard Crusher.
Yeah, not just a name.
It was
it's an
pretty
attitude.
awesome.
I don't know that Anne would use that adjective.
I don't know if Anne would use that adjective, but yes, it was an epic moment. It was also a moment where, because, since then, it's 2020, 3 years, I have had this time to be able to
break more keyboards.
Break more keyboards. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You are the Kurt Cobain of keyboards.
I will take that. That's much better than Keyboard Crusher, I will say. But yeah, we met at NERFA, I think the year before.
Nice.
I think that was when we met, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you two have been, what I love about both of you is I think I discovered your music before I discovered you as individuals, really, from the perspective of we didn't know each other when I started discovering your music. And it wasn't until later, which is awesome, because there's a real thing I think amongst musicians where you'll meet people and you'll be like, wow, they're a really great person. You'll hear the disc and you'll be like, I think I can like this.
Yeah.
I think I can make myself like this.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that I adored about getting to know both of you is I had the opposite experience where I'm like, I love their music. Oh, and I love them too. This is great. But anyway, so I did want to just quickly talk about the records that you released. They were great. Heather Glimmer was your most recent, which is fantastic. Before that was I Am Enough.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So good.
Every now and again, I do my homework. Not very often. Jake will tell you. Jake will tell you. Homework to me, no so bueno. But
actually put show notes in today, so.
Oh, all right. We feel very lucky.
So
very honored. I love it when somebody does their homework.
Yeah.
You're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. And so the only other two quick things I want to talk about, and then we will see the floor to you for the music.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people had questions.
Yeah.
I was reading that thread.
They were
good. And we talked a little bit about one of them, which was how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find that particular
thread. You're so good.
Yeah, it was so long ago.
I was poking around in there, seeing if I needed to have my own show notes prepared.
For what it's worth, I usually, and for all the people online, forgive me, I usually ask what kind of questions would you like to ask them, and I never ask those particular questions. It's my way of trying to engage people. Good. I'm a bad person.
Well, I'm glad Crystal got her question answered. That was her question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did we get started?
Together,
we both happened to be in the same area, and then we just became friends.
Actually, didn't we first meet her at one of those shows? Wasn't it one of the Singing Out shows? We were in Boston, and there was that City Winery, I think it was the first show.
That probably likely that's where she lives.
I met Crystal at a random show.
Before,
and she was amazing. Came and then
but I remember meeting her for the first time playing
at that show. Yes, you're right. Sorry, we had a moment. We're having a moment. We're just having a little chit chat.
So I just want to make sure I'm remembering.
Ethan, what did you want to get to before we go play some music?
Well, specifically, we've talked about a lot of things, but one of the things that I think we haven't really touched on is, Heather, specific to some of the advocacy that you do, specifically as it relates to both body positivity and as it relates to mental health. And I want to say that, again, those just yet again, more things about you that I find really inspiring. You're both your advocacy for people going through body issues as well as people going through mental health issues, and you're normalizing it by sharing your own journey. The word brave is tossed out often to things that don't really apply. It's not brave to go pick something up, but it is brave to share that deeply of yourself. And I just, as someone that has had his fair share of ups and downs, you probably don't even remember this. 2 years ago at NERFA, I hadn't talked to anyone about this. The only person at NERFA that knew was Jake, but I had just gotten divorced. And I talked to you about it. And you cheered me up. You cheered me up so much that I realized I had been depressed. In that moment, I hadn't thought I was depressed until I realized through that conversation. And it helped me sort of do some inner works with myself. And it helped me sort of realize that having conversations was probably healthier than not. And just wanted to thank you for it.
You're welcome. Yeah. I mean, there's a power in normalizing things. When you talk about something that's hard to talk about and somebody brings it up just casually, it's like, it can be a little like alarming when it's happening, but 3, 4, 5 times you make it a habit, it becomes this. I mean, it's so easy for us to be like, I had a bellyache yesterday, but it's still in our society, there's so much stigma around, I had an anxiety attack yesterday. I was on the floor like crying. It was so bad. I was thinking about my mom who died. People are like, whoa, man. But if everybody did that, like the way that if everybody did that, like it would be just as normal as like, I had a stomach ache. It was terrible. I was in bed for like 3 days. So bad. Nobody's like, oh God, don't talk about that. It's weird. No. Because our physical health, for some reason, we can talk about our physical health. But when it comes to our mental health, nobody wants to be the crazy one in the room, and nobody trusts crazy people yet. So there's a power in normalizing it. It should be so easy to talk about. And so thank you. I'm so glad I could help. Yeah.
Thank you for it.
I think the normalization is probably recognizing that we're all crazy. There is no normal. We've all got our shit, and we're all just dealing with it in a different way. You can see some people's, and you can't see other people's.
Exactly.
Yeah, some are invisible, and some are not. And 1 in 4 Americans struggle with mental illness, and those are just the ones that went and got help. I mean, everybody knows what it's like, unfortunately, to have loss of some kind, whether it's a lost job or lost income, lost love, loss of life. So everybody knows pain, but yet we can't, there's still so much work to do, which is why I'm so loud about all of these things. I'm so loud about how I love my body. I'm so loud about how my brain is messy and normal, and in both ways, is because representation ends stigma. When you see it in your life everywhere, you begin to you can't help it. When you see it, your brain shifts as accepted. I accept it because you see it. So that's why I am so loud about being queer. That's why I'm so loud about having bipolar disorder and mental illness. So loud about being fat.
Well, that goes to everything else we've been talking about. When you see people that are like you, it makes being you a little bit easier.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you're going.
Exactly.
Look, it occurred to me earlier today when I was thinking about the podcast this evening that you've shared photos of yourself on Instagram that I, as a white man, would never have the balls to share. Like, and if I can just applaud you for that, because I'm a large white man, and of anybody, of any group of people, the least subjected to scrutiny in those areas. And it's fantastic. Every time I see one of those, I just want you to know, every time you post one of them, when I see them, wherever I am, there's just a little slow clap. There's just a little, you know what? Go, because I would never have the stones. I should. We all should, but I just would never have the stones.
But there's a reason, Jake. I'll say that. There's a reason you don't. And the reason is not, other than the fact that you're not a body positive advocate, and this isn't your platform. But I will say that men also struggle with body dysphoria and body positivity, because in a 2016 world poll, there was one question. There's multiple as a meta, so there's multiple questions that were asked in this poll or in this research. But the one thing that they asked men was, "Do you feel that you have the ideal body?" And only 2% of men in this world poll said yes. Men also struggle with body acceptance, and there's so much stigma around about a man even caring about his body. So you're not alone in that as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
That cute little throat clear was just, I love it so much.
I've been muting myself for most of the podcast every time I have to do it, but this time I was just like, I'm leaving it on.
It was just an appropriate moment, because that right there, that like is what I get at my shows when I say that on stage. That men are supposed to look this way. You think women are, but men have this. The men are supposed to look this way. They're supposed to have a face like Ryan Gosling and abs like Jesus. Is what I say on stage. Yeah. And they're supposed to drive a truck and have a woman and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And usually at my merch tables, what comes to me when it's a cisgendered man, he comes up to me, he shakes my hand, he says, "May I hug you?" And he does, and he says, "I have felt that too." And what usually happens is,
It's really sweet.
It is so sweet.
It's like an indicator of male vulnerability.
Yes.
It's the most subtle little
and I
micro
embrace
expression.
it and love it and say, you also are entitled to these feelings of struggle. Yeah. So Jake and Ethan, you ever need a little boost of self-esteem, just come on over here to Mama Bear. I will tell you.
Why do you think I keep going to all your shows?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I think
15 minutes later, I think
music time.
Let's do some music. Let's show the people what we do.
Yeah.
I think that would be lovely. So after you.
All right.
Oh.
Who was I? Was I Jake or Chris? Or was I Jake or Ethan? We just had the names on our faces at that moment.
Hilarious.
Jake.
Perfect.
I'm Jake. Yeah. Actually, no.
It's actually funnier that way, because I'm like Silent Bob. So the fact that Ethan was over me was actually very appropriate.
All right, let's do. What you want to start with? You want to start with?
We should sing a song we wrote together. Probably.
All right, let's do that.
All right. Yeah, this is for Jake. This is about the crow.
This is about the crow, Jake. So good.
Okay.
I got it.
So much fear, so much chaos. You've been asking who's gonna save us. Turn off the TV and turn off your phone. Yeah, we're safe if we stay at home. We can sing if we want to. We can still dance the whole night through. We can lock eyes from across the room. We don't need to touch, I can feel you. 6 feet apart won't stop us. Don't need to hold you in my arms, I still know you in the dark. Just 'cause I can't kiss you underneath the moonlight doesn't mean you have to feel alone tonight. Let's get closer from 6 feet apart. I can't remember the last time I slowed down long enough to memorize the lines on your face and the way your laugh lights up our face. there's nowhere else I'd rather be than right here, right now. Just you and me. 6 feet apart, won't stop us. Don't need to hold you in my arms. I still know you in the dark. Just 'cause I can't kiss you underneath the moonlight doesn't mean you have to feel alone tonight. Let's get closer. From 6 feet apart, light up the dark. We can light up the dark if we don't let this change us. Ooh, let love undo all that fear and hate does. 'Cause 6 feet apart won't stop us. Don't need to hold you in my arms. I still know you in the dark. Just 'cause I can't kiss you underneath the moonlight doesn't mean we have to feel alone tonight. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. 6 feet apart won't stop us. Don't need to hold you in my arms. I still know you in the dark. Just 'cause I can't kiss you underneath the moonlight doesn't mean we have to feel alone tonight. Let's get close. Let's get closer. From 6 feet apart. So good.
I love that song so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Let's do Be Not Afraid.
All right.
I wrote this song for a short film. It was two young kids having their first kiss, and they asked me to write the song for the moment. It was 2 girls having their first kiss, and I wrote it. And then after getting married to my partner, my amazing partner Ra, we got a letter in the mail that said that our marriage was wrong from a very close family friend. I figured out how to write the bridge after that. So this is called Be Not Afraid. I can feel you, but I can't stop you. And I don't want to, so I don't. And they can't see us, so they can't stop us. And even if they could, we keep on going, going, going. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not scared of what they'll say. 'Cause holding you is worth the pain of what's coming. So I whisper your name, yeah, and I look at your face. Never thought I'd get this close. Ooh, never let myself hold. And I turn
Such a gorgeous song. I
Thank
love
you
that song
very
so much.
You know, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, you guys.
I think I want to sing some social justice.
Just do
Is
it.
that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they hyped it up
I mean,
so
you know,
much.
yeah.
You know, I feel like
Since
we
we're, you know,
gotta.
for the folks who were thinking mistakenly, just on accident, that
Yeah.
there were no more protest songs, let's sing one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna sing one about John Lewis.
Oh,
What do you think about that?
yeah.
All right.
Let's do it. This is brand new.
This is brand
We
new.
should also say to them that this is brand new. We've only performed this.
One time.
Yeah. So here we go.
Yeah. Once I made a video so that could play, because, you know, when you get it right one time when it's that new, you're just hoping that people will just listen to that. But I'm feeling brave. Let's try it. The battle lines are drawn, and once again, somebody's saying, wait, be patient. If they knew how long it would be before all people could truly hear freedom ring, I wonder which end of that moral arc would they choose. I wonder if more would have walked in his shoes. This is what revolution looks like. You gotta get in, then stay in this fight. You've got to find a way to get in the way. Speak out every day. Freedom riders or letter writers, do what you can, just shine your light brighter. Somebody called him a saint among men, a founding father, an icon, a legend. Ordinary people with such extraordinary vision in a country so young, hard pressed on every single side but not crushed, saying in God, love and justice we trust. This is what revolution looks like. You gotta get in, then stay in this fight. You've got to find a way to get in the way. Speak out every day. Freedom riders or letter writers, do what you can, just shine your light brighter. Make good trouble every chance you get. Eyes on the prize, we're not finished yet. Don't tolerate injustice, my friends. Call them out, but then call them in. If you see something that's not right, not fair, stand up and say we can do better. He said, I may not be with you when we reach the other side, so let the power of love everlasting be your guide. 'Cause this is what revolution looks like. You've gotta get in, then stay in this fight. This is what revolution looks like. You gotta get in, then stay in this fight. You've got to find a way to get in the way. Speak out every day. Freedom riders or letter writers, do what you can, just shine your light brighter. Make good trouble every chance you get. Eyes on the prize, we're not finished yet. Don't tolerate injustice, my friends. Call them out, but then call them in, call them in. Find a way to get in the way. Speak out every day. Make
Yay!
Thanks so much. Thanks.
Look at that. Look at that. They have a little thing on currently
All right.
60,000 listens on
Nice.
Facebook. Call them in.
Hey,
Brand new.
thanks
I
so
know.
much. I appreciate that. Man, it's so good having an IT guy on the podcast. That's amazing.
Well, I think we should
Yeah.
do what?
Tell us. Give us the
Jens?
hand signals.
Are we okay
Give
to
us
keep
the-
going? We're cool to keep going? Okay, cool.
All right,
yeah, let's
good.
do a couple more.
You know, I have 8 albums, and Heather got a
I've
lot
got
of
2. I
a
feel
lot of
like I
songs,
have
so we
to
could
do.
literally play all night. So,
What do you want me to do?
Smoke Signals.
Oh wow. Okay.
No
All right.
hesitation.
Wow.
You're welcome, America. You're welcome.
I've been fighting for my life, but the shadows finally run me down. Now this forest is closing in, and I can't make a sound. I can't make a sound. I've got to get to higher ground to ignite the spark left in me. Oh, the air is thick with doubt, but I've got to find my way out. I'm sending smoke signals, 'cause where there's smoke there is fire. I'm sending smoke signals, 'cause where there's hope there's desire to go on. Searching for the light and standing in the sun. I may be lost, but I'm not done. I'm sending smoke signals. I could just give in. Let the ground swallow me, swallow me. What's this all been for? If not to be free, if not to be free. And I remember better days, and I hold them close to my chest. 'Cause even the smallest star still shines in the darkness. I'm sending smoke signals, 'cause where there's smoke there's fire. I'm sending smoke signals, 'cause where there's hope there's desire to go on. Searching for the light when standing in the sun. I may be lost, but I'm not done. I'm sending smoke signals. And so I'm gonna split the room up. Normally at a venue I say everybody over here and everybody over here. I want you to sing this part, but I'm gonna have you choose it. So if you feel led, sing this part, and if you feel led, sing the other one. So here's this one. It goes smoke signals, smoke signals. Ethan, you sing that. Smoke signals, smoke signals. Okay, everybody else, I want you to sing this. Hear me, can you hear me? Go for it, Jake. Can you hear me? Can significance of your life, because somewhere down the line someone told you that you were not good enough. When you are born, you do not think, I wish I had, I wish I was, I wish I could. I wish I looked like, I wish I made this type of money, I wish I was blank. The only thing that you think when you are born is, I am. You are made of the same stuff as the sun. You are fire and you are magic, and somewhere down the line you began to believe the things that they told you, but they're not true. You are brilliantly made, amazing humans, brilliantly made. Come back to that knowing.
Thanks.
Hey. Thanks, guys.
I think
What you gonna do after that?
I think this one is appropriate.
I think so.
Speaking of holding on to the truth about yourself longer than when society tries to convince you that some other reality is true.
Yeah.
The song is called How Many More?
Ayana and Darnisha, Tamir, Taisha and Trayvon, Michael Brown and Jordan Davis, William Chapman and Laquan, Keith McLeod and Tyree Crawford, Jordan Edwards and Devon, Antoine Rose, Victor Steen, Jeremy Lake and Patterson Brown. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you, would what you've done be enough? Would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care? Oscar Grant and Eric Garner, Yvette Smith and Shelley Frey, Eric Harris and John Crawford, George Floyd and Freddie Gray, Chantel Davis and Tarika, Breonna Taylor and Kendra James, Ramarley Graham, Danny Brumfield, Terrence Crutcher, DeRavis and Dontre, Amadou Diallo, Sam DeBose and Botham Jean, Jordan Baker and Alton Sterling, Lavon, Shem and Stefan, Tatiana and Rikia, Jonathan Farrell and Ricky Ball, Janisha Fonville, Maya Hall, Akai Gurley, Philando Ahmad. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you, would what you've done be enough? Would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care? Eleanor Bumpers and Margaret Mitchell, Alberta Sproul and Katherine Johnson, Walter Scott and Joseph Mann, Ollie Brooks and James Allen, Gregory Gunn and Charles Goodrich, Fred Barlow and Dennis Hudson, Mary Truxillo and Deborah Danner, Betty Jones and Pearly Golden. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you and what you've done be enough, would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care?
Yeah.
Thanks.
What you want me to do for you? Pick the next one.
How about stand up?
Okay. Go ahead and walk in my boots for a minute. Tell me how easy it is to stay silent. Walking home to your babies and you see those flashing lights. Mama always said it's not safe for a black man to walk at night. Go ahead and walk in my heels for a minute. Tell me how easy it is just to forget it. Cause they say it's your fault for dressing like you do. But ignore that good man who left you black and blue. Oh, till the end of the herd, until the last lesson learned. I will wreck my voice, I'll be heard through the noise. I will stand my ground until I see the end. And you would too if you'd been where I'd been. Oh yeah. Go ahead and walk in my shoes for a minute. And tell me how easy it is to grin and bear it. The ones you love the most close the door on you and shun. Cause a 4,000-year-old book is more important than their son. Go ahead and walk with my bare feet for a minute. And tell me how easy it is to accept it. When everything you've ever known has turned to soot and ash. A war you had no hand in took everything you had. How does it feel when the world turns its back? Oh, till the end of the herd, until the last lesson learned. I will wreck my voice, I'll be heard through the noise. And I will stand my ground until I see the end. And you would too if you'd been where I'd been. Oh, stand up, won't you? Stand up, won't you? So this is around the time when I ask my audiences to please sing with me. Now I know you're not sitting in front of me, and I know that I'm the one with the camera on me and the microphone. But let me tell you, amazing humans, this is how social justice works. This is how change works. It starts with one person just like you, standing around a water cooler at your office, or standing with a mask on at a coffee hangout in the park, or in a chat room where your racist cousin from Kansas talks to you, or in a coffee Zoom hangout with your coworkers, and you say, "This is what I believe, even though the conversation wasn't leading there. You're so damn tired about what is going on in this world, and you have realized that you have been benefiting from the oppression of an entire group of people. And so have your coworkers or your family And so even though your voice is shaking, even though you don't know if the words you're saying are right, let me tell you what happens. That person you're talking to, let's call her Becky, shall we? That Becky goes to church on Sunday, and Becky says to the person in the church pew next to her, "This is what I believe, I believe. Because you were brave even though your voice was shaking." Becky knew the words to say, the words to say, the words to say, the words to say. Amazing humans, there is power in one voice, because one voice leads to 2, leads to 200, and then you got a revolution of people standing up for the lives of those who do not look like them, love like them, live like them, make money like them. People who do not live like you, people who do not love like you. Your voice is the answer, because that voice of yours, whether it is shaking, whether it is small, it leads to many voices. Are you tired of seeing on the news black people dying in the streets? If you have this same skin color as me and Ethan and Jake, know this. Racism begins to end in the homes of white Americans who have the conversations with those who look like them and ask and say, how have we been benefiting from the oppression of these people? Have the tough conversations. Let your voice, your shaking voice, lead to. So I want you to sing this with me right now. Stand up, won't you stand up, won't you stand up, won't you stand up, won't you? You're going to keep singing with Chris till the end of the song, and I want you to sing so loud that your siblings in the room next to you, or your wife down the hall, or your friends who live, your roommates, your neighbors, hell, get so loud that your neighbors ask you tomorrow as you are walking to your mailbox, what were you singing about? And then you have that conversation with Becky tomorrow. Let's get loud, shall we? Go, go. Stand up till the end of the herd. Go to the last lesson learned. I'll wreck my voice. I'll be heard through the noise. I will stand my ground until I see the end. And you would too if you'd been where I've been. Stand up, won't you stand up? Amazing humans, I want you to get loud and stay loud. Keep going. Go.
That song so much. I only just realized tonight that literally almost every single one of those verses, I check a box in that verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that song.
You want to do one more?
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
I'm gonna do my award-winning song.
Wow. You saw the Aries come on out. Look, she's laughing at herself because she knows.
I did that for you. I had to.
Y'all see the things I have to put up with. You see it, right?
I'm just speaking fact.
I do love the song so much.
I know, I do too. It's mostly selfish. I just love to sing the song. This is like one of those songs that keeps me sane during this crazy time. You know?
Yeah.
It's like some of the songs we write for the people, and then some of the songs we write for us, so that we can actually still be around to sing the songs for the people.
Especially because this song has so many of the people that give us hope. So we're so,
absolutely
speaking about the fact that there are people who look to us for hope. Yeah. Well, in this song,
we got a little Michelle Obama in here, a little Nelson Mandela, little Curtis Mayfield by way of Eva Cassidy, and a little bit of my mom.
Yeah.
Change is coming once again. Except this time it feels like the world's about to end. White-robed devils in plain sight. Angry protests in the streets night after night. And it weighs heavy on my mind. Why are we so quick to run backwards after all this time? But I won't let it change my heart. I was born full of love and hope, and when I die, that's how I'll depart. And when you find yourself incapable of seeing eye to eye, remember when they go low, we go high. Change is coming, that's for sure. We gave a madman all the keys and let him walk right in the door. And I don't think he'll see the light until the whole world is on fire, but that's alright, that's alright. We will still be here when he's gone. And if he doesn't kill us all, well, it sure will make us strong. So don't let 4 years change your heart. We were not born hating each other. Now is not the time, not the time to start. And when you find yourself incapable of seeing eye to eye, remember when they go low,
Sing it.
we go high. Yes, we do. Come on. There's a song penned for soldiers. It says, let us live to make men free. We're all sisters, we're all brothers, standing on each other's shoulders. There's no wall we cannot scale. We are an army of lovers, and we shall not fail. So when you find yourself incapable of seeing eye to eye, remember when they go low, we go high, 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 we go high, we go high, yeah. People get ready, yeah. I said people get ready, yeah. People get ready, people get ready, yeah, yeah. Everybody registered to vote out there?
Are your friends registered to vote?
You have your pandemic voting plan
Do you have a
Enacted.
plan in action?
and
You gotta
ready
make
to
sure.
go.
Go to iamvoter.com to check your registration, check where your voting place is. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks so much.
Well, that was just like a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Whew. Hi, you guys.
Hey, fellas.
Hello. I was muted.
I'm still Chris's wow for a little
I
bit.
was gonna say,
Wow.
you're taking my word, Jake. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
sorry. Sorry.
Thanks, you guys, for giving us that space
Yeah,
to perform.
thank you so much.
The last
That
time
was-
we performed was this was a couple days ago, and we performed actually for an
Oh,
organization.
yes, that was
we
so
did a benefit
amazing.
concert, and I'm mentioning it because
Galvanize.
of I would love for your listeners and the people who are watching to go check it out. It is a organization called Galvanize, and they find white women, because I don't know if you know this, gents, but 42% of white women in 2016 voted for Trump. 42%. And in terms of voter turnout, white women actually have the highest percentage of voters. If there was a pie chart, white women make up the highest population of people who vote even over white men. And so that speaks volumes to us being able to get some voting rights out there. But that's another topic for another conversation. But right now, this amazing organization, Galvanize, actually does outreach in conservative states where reaching white women who actually hold progressive values and would normally vote Democrat, but because of society, community pressure, they vote Republican. And we help them raise $7,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you listening on the podcast, that's www.galvanizeusa.org.
Killing it, Jake. Killing it. The
killing
Crow cannot hold him
Can't bring
back.
you down, man.
Can't bring you down. Love it, Jake. Love
I'll
it.
generally beat him to the banner, but he will always remember the fact that we're technically an audio podcast. I always forget that.
For both of you and for those of you listening, we will share this to YouTube in short order, and we also share it to our audio podcasting network. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that. So that's why we give the shout outs of the links when we remember it.
And for those of you listening at home, I'm wearing a Game of Thrones bow tie. You're welcome.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Sorry, so you were performing for Galvanize USA and doing a lot of kick-ass work.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Absolutely.
That was what we did on Friday, and
And then earlier in the year, after George Floyd, we did a huge. We were so distraught. We didn't know what else to do, and so we just threw together this huge
in 24
benefit
hours
called Amplify, and pulled together like all of the social justice songwriters that we knew and loved, artists of color predominantly. And then, of course, the inimitable Holly Nair said she'd come hang out with us, which was incredible. And we raised like $8,500 for several different organizations in Minnesota on the ground. Just, we don't want to just talk the talk. We want to walk the walk as well. So,
And we do it through music, which is such a great way. And I know that a lot of people who are listening and watching and following, who follow the two of you, are also musicians as well. And music is an amazing way to get, even if your music isn't social justice focused, your messages most often in folk music is very filled with hope. And so using music there's a really great, I want to quote that my mother always says to me, that when words fail, music speaks. And we live that if you are feeling like, what do I do, use your music for good. It can bring around a lot of change.
yes, indeed.
Well, Heather, I want to only jump in a little bit on this wonderful sort of what Galvanize USA is doing, but let's also recognize that the heart of the Democratic Party right now is Black women.
Yep.
If it weren't for them voting the way they do, I mean, Roy Moore,
Exactly.
a known, essentially pedophile, would be our senator, would be the senator in Alabama if it weren't for 98% of Black women coming out and voting.
Yes.
It bothers me on an unfathomable level that was almost a reality, and thank God
Exactly.
for the Black women that made sure that it wasn't.
Yes,
I think it was less than 20,000 votes.
Yeah. The difference is, as Black women, we don't tend to need a reminder to continue to go forward in this country. And the same, unfortunately, cannot be said for our counterparts. So that is why it is so very important, the work that they are doing there on the ground in so many of those swing states, because we are reliable. We do show up to vote. A lot of people got killed and bled for us to have that right. And so we very reliably make it to those polls every single election. And I hope that after this delightful chapter in American history, the same can be said of so many more Americans.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Hope so. And, for us here in Massachusetts, our primary is Tuesday. Anyone currently watching, hope you guys are aware of it. Hope you've either already voted or you'll be in there Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even in
definitely.
states, Ethan and I both live in Massachusetts, and so the nominations and what have you coming out of Massachusetts tend to be pretty expected. And I think, that's a big close up of your face there, Ethan. Those of you on the audio podcast, we just got a close up of Ethan's teeth.
So good.
Need to narrate
He's very
that.
excited about this election.
I think it's even for the states where you might say, Well, it's Massachusetts, and so we know, who's going to be the nominee. I think it is important to send a message this year as much as any year, possibly more than any year, given where we are right now, that there needs to be no question. There needs to be as resounding a defeat of this bullshit as we can communicate. So none of this, he lost by 3 million votes, but he won in the election. Fuck that. Yeah. He needs to lose by 20 million votes. We just need every single person that supports this shit needs to understand that it is not acceptable and it will not be acceptable. So even if you think your state is one where, my vote doesn't matter because I'm going to vote for the guy that's going to win anyway. Oh no! Send a goddamn message. Yeah. Go send a message.
There can be no my vote doesn't matter because you want to know why? Because our counterparts, they know their vote matters. They will be coming out in swarms, and so we must not.
I think you were about to say hordes, and I think technically speaking, that's the better word. If we're going to go with a Lord of the Rings kind of thing, I think hordes is really the...
I was just thinking bugs. I was thinking...
True.
You did see a cicada earlier. It really messed with you.
I was thinking bugs. Okay. But anyways, so we can't have any of that, my vote doesn't...
And even on a more optimistic level, there's a power in voting, even if you're in a state where it's a foregone conclusion. In Massachusetts, it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to vote for the Democrat. That's just, we've always had. In my lifetime, I don't think we've ever not voted for the Democrat. Mm-hmm. But we have a Senate race with two, actually, I think, relatively wonderful candidates. But you've got one who is, while he is a very old Democrat, has sort of turned himself around in the last 8 years and has become one of the more progressive voices in the Senate. And he's got a young Kennedy running against him, who also is a progressive, but not quite the same level of progressivism. I don't know. You know what I mean? And
progressivity.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to say what you said. But there's an opportunity to sort of say, this is what I'm looking for. And I think the Democratic Party needs to hear things like that. They need to understand what the people want. And I'm saying this is a lifelong Democrat. The party has a long history of being like, oh, don't worry, we know what you want. And man, do they bungle it like 80% of the time.
And I also say that it's really important, even if you're not that big of a fan of our candidate and as a Democratic Party, it is incredibly important for you to vote for the local election. Because if you want real change, if you would like for your police force to not be so funded, then find people at the local level who can really make that change in your community. Yeah. If you truly want to defund the police, if you truly want change in your community, if you want more people in your community watching out for people in your community, if you would like social workers to show up when there is a domestic violence,
an issue with mental illness,
or is having an issue with mental illness, if you would like a social worker, somebody who is trained in mental health to show up rather than somebody with a gun who can trigger somebody, then
and even beyond the defunding the police at the very least, and I think I'm on board with that mentality, but I think it's a very charged phrase for a lot of people because it's hard for them to understand. And I don't want to keep you guys for another 45 minutes so we can unpack that particular vocabulary.
I'll talk about it all night long. I save my words for these exact reasons.
We will tell you what, how about we invite you back and we spend an entire night on it. That being said,
lovely.
Her Game of Thrones tie in preparation.
Hold up. Let me just real quick.
I'm gonna clear my throat.
Can I at least suggest that even if whoever listens to this over time, if you're here and you're hearing defund the police and you're thinking, well, who will protect us or this, that, the other thing, instead of defund the police, think demilitarize the police, because that is at the heart of the problem right now. You are treating people whose job it is to de-escalate and to provide peace as if they were soldiers and warriors. And that is
as how they're trained. And that is how they're trained. Let's just say this, and this is literally the one thing, because one of the things that I did when all of this stuff went down is I had no idea what defunding the police was. None. Even in my social justice work, none. I had no idea. So I took a deep dive because that's what we should do.
Yeah.
When you hear something in your community being talked about, instead of just shooting it off and being like, no, who will protect me? As a person who is a survivor of sexual assault, I can tell you that the idea of a police officer not showing up when that situation happened is terrifying. However, you have to go do the research. There are cities in America who have defunded the police and allocated some of the funds from the police to social services and mental health services. It's not all the time. It is in certain instances where people can be triggered. And example, George Floyd is claustrophobic. He could not get in that car. A mental health person should have been there, de-escalated the situation, sat him on the curb, and talked to him. Then a police officer could have come. That is defunding the police.
And I think there's so much of this that's politicized because it's on the other side, and so we don't even take the time to think about or look at what's actually being talked about. Some people hear the phrase Black Lives Matter and they mean what they hear is fuck all the white people.
Exactly.
And they
My
don't
life
hear
matters too. That's what they think. It's like,
what about me? And you're like, well, that's never been a question.
right.
I listened to Chris's song. Chris, there were so many names in that song that we were, I don't know, 6 or 7 seconds in when I was like, shit, she's giving me homework is what she's doing. She's singing a song, but what she's doing is giving me homework.
Yeah.
Is that this what I call implied intent, where we assume that we know what the other person is saying because they're on the other side and they must be therefore attacking us.
Right.
And so defund the police means fuck the police. No, it doesn't mean fuck the police. It means pick the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
Black Lives Matter doesn't mean fuck the white people. It means Black Lives Matter too.
Yeah.
Like, we just spend so much time with these knee-jerk reactions and not putting the time in to think about what's actually going on, and we just get defensive. We just get defensive and dismiss the other side without actually listening.
Yeah. And I would just say, just do the
when we're all
research.
fucked.
Just do the research. Just take some time. Recognize your reaction as a white person. Recognize that is a fear response. Listen to it. It's important. It's there. It helps you not run into a burning building or, down a dark alley. But take time to recognize that. And then the next step is research.
Yeah.
That's the next step.
And let's be honest, we've been defunding education for 30 years. Defund does not mean end. And sometimes defund can be poorly thought out, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about looking at a situation and saying we're using a hammer when we need a bicycle. There's just there's no sensibility to the way these things happen, and you get people who again, the militarization of the police, I think, to me, is at the heart of the problem, because I want a cop to be in my neighborhood. I want to know the cop in my neighborhood. I want to have a relationship with the person that is serving my neighborhood. But if the person that's serving my neighborhood immediately wants to escalate because they've been trained to use a gun, so by God, in this suburban town that literally has cobblestones for street, like there's just a level. Again, we already used the word in a completely different context, but the fetishization. Thank you, of violence.
Not just a pretty face.
That was really well done. The specific way that violence is now seen, and I'm not one to blame video games. I'm not one to blame movies, but it's so consistent in everything where there's murder, there's violence everywhere, and the truth is there's less murder per capita now than there was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It's been on the down slope forever, and the people that then say, well, look at this, that, the other thing. You see enough individual instances of anything, and it'll teach you that. And part of the reason that the specific issues going on among the Black community, the way that they're being treated, is simply because we've got the fucking cameras.
Yeah.
It's not that it wasn't happening before.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's been happening.
That's the thing. It's like, I don't know what we would be doing, if we had, like, imagine if George Floyd had been killed that way and no one had been there to see it, to tell the world, to show that horrible, brutal act in its entirety. I mean, this is the thing that's so important. I just want to say to the allies that are there, truly be vigilant, be your brother's keeper in this moment, in this chapter. We have been having this conversation. Somebody asked me the other day, did I feel like my song, We Must Be Free, was prophetic, because it feels so poignant right now. And I'm like, that song is several years old, and not only that, the song that it was inspired by is over 50 years old. Like, this conversation has been happening for so long, but more people are in the conversation now because they can't deny what they are seeing with their own eyes. And imagine what we don't see. Imagine all of those instances that don't go viral, that don't get in anybody's radar. If you see something happening to a person of color, please be an ally to them. Stand there. You can stand 50 feet back if you need to, but pull your camera out and hold those people accountable. Because when we don't have anybody to be there, to be a witness, it just won't change, because they'll just keep saying that it's not real, that it's not happening, and it is happening so often to so many of us.
I just tossed up a picture from the local BLM movement, which I've felt so lucky to be able to go and be part of some of these things. It has been run by a group of high school seniors for the last 7 months, and almost all women, and God bless them. They are amazing. They have sat, and I live in, as I said, in old money, cobblestone street, New England town. And I have watched old men get up in 16-year-old girls' faces, spitting hatred, and the poise that these young women have, the poise that this group of people have. As someone who's quickly becoming an older person, it hurts to say this, but I'm looking forward to the generational shift.
Yeah.
We'll all be better for it. I think.
Yep. I hope.
I think we're going to have to continue this conversation. Maybe season 2. Maybe we can have the two of you come back as repeat guests in season 2.
We would love that.
There's so much of this conversation to continue to have. We've had a bunch of people sticking with us through this whole thing. We're a couple hours in now, and thank you all so much for sticking with us. And
thanks for giving us the space to have this conversation, you guys. We really appreciate it.
Can we give you more space? Will you accept more space for us?
We will accept more space.
Definitely.
I don't know if
I'm a preacher's kid. I can give a sermon anytime.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding.
It's true, actually.
You know what? Do you want up? We can start off with the two of you. That's fine. I want to see Chris get up there and get her preacher on. That's fine. I'm good.
I physically just gave them more space.
Well played.
But we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to come in here and not just play music, but actually have the conversations as social justice songwriters. It's important for us, and we're both doing that on our own patrons. I'm totally going to throw this out there that we have Patreon, both of us, and Chris has one, and she's got 3 tiers, and her third tier is one where she does a roundtable discussion with her highest patrons. And then I have 6 gatherings per month where we gather and do things that help our brains in this weird time, workshops and education and classes, and it's been a really fun way to stay connected with our fans. So if you're looking for ways to continue to thrive right now, whoever's watching this, come over to our Patreons. It's patreon.com/Chris Matthews, which is CRYS Matthews, and mine is
2 T's.
patreon.com/Heather May, MAE.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're such a good musical partner. Just
Thank
dropping it
you.
in there. Thanks so much.
I do what I can.
Killing it. That's why I keep driving for you. That
women
right
supporting women.
So she can work and be quiet in the past.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
We know the secrets now.
Look at that.
Chris
good.
and Heather, I think,
Yeah.
thank you both so much. This has
Thank
been,
you all so much.
I know we promised you like an hour and a half and y'all be done. And that's
We
not-
knew better. We knew better. I was
We
like, oh,
knew.
Ethan? Oh, it's going to be all night.
Do you know how late that lounge stays goes?
That was delightful, Jen.
was
Thank
so
you so
fun.
much for giving us this space, and
Yeah.
it was just a great time.
Our pleasure entirely. And I wanted to just, again, with your Patreons, I am soon to be a subscriber to both, but I want to point out that recently, because you also have a wonderful community on Facebook. that
Yes,
you
we
guys
do.
have
We do.
I think some of them are tuned in tonight, actually.
Put
Yeah.
together.
That's awesome.
And I wanted to just acknowledge that. I think you've done a really masterful job, wonderful job with that community.
Thank you.
We are scrolling your Patreon pages now at the bottom of the screen. I apologize, it doesn't let me space things, but you're doing. I believe, if I remember correctly, because I'm now on all of your mailing lists. You're doing a couple of ones on sex positivity that I love the way
Yes.
the specific description of it was so wonderfully positive.
Yeah.
In a non ostracizing way, in an inviting way. That was really wonderful to see.
Yeah, it's
And
a workshop called Hot and Heavy, the Brain and Pleasure for Bigger Bodies, because there should be body positivity in the conversations around sex. Yeah.
By the way, I thought you guys would appreciate the best T-shirt I have seen in the last 6 months. I was in the grocery store, and easily a woman in her mid-60s was wearing a T-shirt that said "Practice safe sex."
So
With
good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grandma.
That's it.
I thought you'd
Thank you,
appreciate it.
I was
Grandma.
like, how did the kids think they got here?
That's going to be me. Y'all know that's going to be me.
Exactly. Yeah,
But it'll be crop top.
totally.
Well
All right,
done.
so we will let you guys go for the time being. Just thanks again so much. We're
Yeah, our
can't
pleasure.
wait to have you back.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the conversations.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, you
And
guys.
we'll talk soon.
All right,
Okay,
stay safe
bye.
out.
I always cut them off right as they're saying goodbye. I feel awful about it.
Oh,
Hold on,
man.
let's get this right.
Prepping for the show, you were like, all right, so we're going to talk for like 45 minutes and then they're going to play for a half hour and we're going to be done. It's like, that's adorable. It's adorable that you think that's what's going to happen, because that's what we tell people. And that's what we remember in the beginning of this when we're like, oh, no more, like an hour and a half. That's what it'll be.
Well, you were the one trying to convince me we could do it in 45 minutes. And I was like, that's
No,
not
I was
gonna
trying to
happen.
convince you that we should. Not that we could, but that we should. That's a different debate. But in any case.
Well,
So
go ahead.
let's see here. GalvanizeUSA.org, HeatherMay.net, ChrisMatthews.com, ChrisMatthews.com, HeatherMay.net, HeatherMae.net. And you can find them both on Patreon as well. So please check them out. We will definitely have them both back. They were both fantastic guests, and you could not see Ethan and myself off stage while they were playing music, but Ethan just had this look, this giddy grin on his face, this goofy grin. It was fantastic, and we were both singing along and clapping along, and that was a blast.
Well, I told we this isn't a secret, but you and I text during this thing as we're trying to make sure that we're staying on time and everything else. And every time I hear Heather do stand up, I have this dream of finally doing the lounge stage again in person. And I have this dream of closing out a night of 6 hours of a team of musicians with her doing that song and having all 20 musicians just on stage backing her up and making it the call to arms that it needs to be.
Well, and that's on brand for us. We had Peter Mulvey's "Take Down Your Flag" a few years ago, and this song should be considered right up there. In terms of, for those of you who think that there are not great political songs, would you find a Google somewhere, please? Jesus Christ. Would you look up folk music, look up Heather May and Chris Matthews and Peter Mulvey, find the people that are making it, because if you think there's no political music out there, you are just not paying attention right now.
And
I got my whiskey on tonight. I think that's what it is.
we never talked about it. You whiskey, which whiskey?
I am drinking E.H. Taylor small batch because I can't find the single barrel. But if anybody in the Boston area knows where I can find the E.H. Taylor single barrel, please let me know. What do you got?
I am drinking a gimlet, which is essentially a line or a gin daiquiri, which it's become
daiquiri.
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 That right?
Is a cross between a diaper and a daiquiri, which is probably not where you wanted to go right now. Daiquiri.
I don't know. It tastes pretty good.
Where's your drinking emoji? You got that one teed up? We've always.
I'm sure. Anyway, so this is 12 episodes, and this is some of the best conversations I've had, certainly in the last decade, if not the entirety of my adult life. And to be able to share with so many just wonderful people, and invite them to push us a little bit. I appreciate, Vance. I appreciate. Though she wasn't so much snipe, that my relationship with Chris, I think she would agree. She's generally not been too shy about me saying something stupid, and she won't give me a monologue as to why I'm stupid. She'll just kind of look at me and be like, which is essentially on brand with what she's talked about. Yeah, exactly. I get the wow. It's not a good wow though.
It's not the good one. No, it's not the Heather's gone on too long. Wow. It's the you big white doofus, which I get my fair share of.
But because of that, I've learned, and I appreciate her putting up with me through that process, because it is not the responsibility of our I can't. You're French. The LGBTQ people in our lives to educate us. It's not the responsibility of the Black people in our lives to educate us.
Just bringing Heather and Chris dying into the stream for a second, and then I'm sending them back to the room. They were looking their asses off.
It's not the responsibility, but when the people in your life that can speak to you with a level of experience that you don't have choose to.
Yes.
That's a gift. It's absolutely a gift. And, I thank Chris for being someone in my life that has treated me that way. I think Heather, I think Vance, I think James Blunt, who I was so happy to have join us a couple weeks ago.
Jake Blunt.
That's a different guy. But there were so many wonderful conversations, and we kicked all of this off with Adam Ezra, who's done some just amazing work as a white guy, spending time thinking about what that means and how to take his community of relatively thoughtful but also very white people and force them into conversations.
Yep.
And that to me that's what we should be doing as white people. We should be, if we have a sphere of influence, to Heather's point and the end of stand up, her point, if I'm understanding it correctly, is it's our responsibility to make sure that we're having these conversations. Yes. We are admitting to the benefits that we reap from who we were born as, and the things that we take from the people that weren't. Because it's not just what we're given, sometimes it's what we take. And I think that's just an important thing to recognize. So thanks for all that. Thanks to everyone who's put up with 12 episodes, multiple hours of Jake and I learning with all of you and having these conversations. Your support's been amazing.
Thank you to all of our guests. We had Adam Ezra, Randy Green, and Dan Whitener from Gangsta Grass, Ellis Paul, Justin Nordell, Bethlehem Roberson, Karina Smith, John Laurenti, Vance Gilbert, Kimberly Sinclair, Jake Blunt, and Abby Gardner and Craig Aiken. Holy shit. And then tonight, Chris Matthews and Heather May. And we were trying to figure out how to round out this season. And when Ethan said, I talked to Chris and Heather, we got Chris and Heather, I was like, holy crap. But we, as we've done every year with the Lounge Stage, we've tried to set the bar very high, and we've tried to do that this whole season and with our guests this evening. And thank you all for jumping on this little roller coaster with us. We're going to be, as Ethan had said, Thursday, September 24th. We're going to have a little bit of music, a little bit of concert for you. And then in probably 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to get back to the podcast and we'll start season 2. And we may bring a couple people back. We might have a couple of special guest hosts or what have you. We may have some repeat guests. I think we should have an episode where you and I just shut the hell up and Chris and Heather take over and they invite their own guest.
I would love that. I think we need them to keep the nameplates up, though.
Yes. Yep. Tribalmischief.com. Let's see, twitch.tv/Tribal Mischief, facebook.com/Tribal Mischief Productions. I'm sorry, in youtube.com/C/Tribal Mischief is where you can find the archive of all of our podcasts, and you can find the audio versions on your favorite podcasting app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitch, all of those. Ethan, anything you want to say to wrap up our season here?
Jake, you and I have been working together for 20 years on musical things. I appreciate your continued tolerance of me as a human being. I appreciate that you have been one of the most thoughtful people in my life when it comes to hearing the manic way that I throw ideas against a wall and helping me organize them into something that is meaningful. And, we've been talking about, I've been talking to you about doing a podcast for 3 or 4 years. And what I needed was that moment that was you stepping up to me about 3.5 months ago saying, I think I figured out how to do it. And we did. So
that's how these things go. You've been pushing the podcast, and I was talking with my wife earlier today, and I was like, when we originally talked about a podcast, every podcast we hear about, they spend 30 or 40 hours a week, and they have teams of people, and they do all this editing, and I was like, how in the crap we don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. And then we found this platform, and we have worked it out over the last 12 episodes. And I appreciate you and you putting up with me for these 15 years. November is going to be 15 years of Pesky J. Nixon. And
we got to do something. We've got to actually, the band hasn't played anything together for 8 months. No. We hadn't done anything for a couple of months even before this happened. So we're going to have to figure that out. So if anyone listening either tonight or when we archive this has ideas, send us a note. PeskyJNixon@gmail.com, I believe.
Yes.
But we should wrap it up. We should let everyone go their way as much as we can keep just chatting at the air. I will reiterate, we were going to have a show on did you say the 24th of September?
Thursday, September 24th. There will be a live concert.
There will be a series of pre-recorded videos run on the Twitch channel. Between now and then, we'll send out schedules on our Facebook page as I can confirm they're going to happen. Our 3, as of yet, unposted podcasts from Twitch, the Vance Gilbert, the Jake Blunt, and the Abby and Craig are all being uploaded today and will be posted Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on our Facebook page at 10 a.m. Every day. So be on the lookout for those. Yeah. He's Jake Bush on accordion.
The wrong way. He's Ethan Baird, not on accordion.